Carl Sagan could not have predicted 20 trying to tell us back then.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Even as these grainy satellite images released today by the Chinese government.
Why shoot it down though if it's not hostile?
Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
Why the Americans would?
Can be distance annihilated.
This country is very powerful. Far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world. Not even close.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Well. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks for being here, guys. Happy Tuesday, guys. Rare Tuesday stream. Had to push the other stream from yesterday to today. Have a lot of good stuff to talk about tonight, guys. We're going to be talking politics. We might even talk a little bit of science later on as well. Just kidding. No, we are going to be talking about the Venezuela incident. We're going to be talking about the Golden Fleet, brand new battle cruiser, I think is the designation. That is a Trump-class battle cruiser with some pretty interesting weaponry on board it. We're going to take a quick look at that. Going to talk about possibly annexing Greenland. And then we're going to talk also finally about Tri-Alpha Energy. I mean, this has been the big news. If you've been living underneath a rock, we're going to start with just a briefer on this. Donald J. Trump, DJT, as the stock quote ticker. Trump Media and Technology Group has acquired Tri-Alpha Energy, which was a private company, which means that the moment the transaction is complete officially, that company becomes part of DJT. $6 billion transaction. Oh, excuse me. So when people are wondering, okay, break it down here. Tri-Alpha Energy is one of only 2 aneutronic fusion companies that have actually built something that we know of. One of them is Tri-Alpha Energy. The other one is Helion Fusion. Helion Energy is their official name. I've been talking about mostly Helion Energy, but both of them for the last year. Suddenly, Trump's company that owns True Social acquires Tri-Alpha Energy out of nowhere. This, to me, was a significant signal that some fuckery is afoot. Fuckery is afoot, chat. Fuckery is afoot. Because there are a lot of fusion companies. For them to focus in on this particular one, which does field reverse configuration. Again, only 2 companies do field reverse configuration fusion. One is Tri-Alpha and the other one is Helion. I mean, technically Lockheed Martin does, but they forgot that technology. They lost that technology, chat. Don't worry about Lockheed Martin for now. We're not going to consider them. They lost that technology. So when Trump's company buys up one of these, it's very significant. Now, I do want to point out, let me be very clear about this. I invested, I don't know if you consider it a lot or a little, depends on how rich you are. I invested, for me, a significant amount of money in DJT the moment I heard about this news. I'm in at like, I don't know, $14.09 or something like that. Whatever, $14.09. I can already see how people are going to be asking me for an update every time the price swings. Now, the price of the stock is based on speculation and many other factors. I'm not going to be talking about the price of the stock every time it swings a little bit. as we're going to find out today, what I wanted to dig into today on today's stream is what are the long-term prospects? Why did Trump Media Group actually acquire this company? Most of the price of the stock is going to be based off of speculative interest. People that are just, they like Trump or they don't like Trump or what have you. I looked into the stock and I saw the stock had tanked since like a year ago, down like 10 times over, basically, before this deal had happened. So the value of Truth Social was not very high, but that doesn't mean that this deal can't be good. And I think that that's why the deal was made. Okay. So instead of just, telling you why Trump is awesome, you should get involved in Trump, or, why just believing me on Tri-Alpha Energy, we're going to actually watch some videos, listen firsthand to them, and I'm going to explain to you why I think what they're saying is significant, because the more I listen to Tri-Alpha Energy, the more I listen to Devin Nunes, who I think is like the CEO or director or whatever of Trump Media Group, the more convinced I am that they literally do know about this science, this technology, the very same technology that we have been disclosing. Same technology. The ticker is DJT, guys. Donald J. Trump. That's the ticker. He put his own initials on his company, which just, of course he did. But that's now forever going to be tied to one of only two neutronic fusion companies that exist. Okay, guys, before we get into that, got a lot more stuff to get into. Yes, and Merry Christmas. And happy Hanukkah, happy holidays. Anybody else, whatever you guys celebrate, I'm happy for you. Let's start here. Okay. Oh, you can't share sound with this. Okay, hold on a sec. Try again. First thing up, we got a lot of political news we got to talk about here. And before people say, Ashton, why are you talking about politics? Guys, I'm revealing secret nuclear weapons that nobody knows about. It is pretty political. It's probably been a political thing behind the closed doors for decades. I'm basically just grabbing that issue and bringing it out and trying to give it the attention that it deserves. Call it 0-point energy, call it weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons, call it alien weapons. I don't care. Call it whatever the hell you want. Tesla technology. So, first thing, Venezuela. So, Tucker Carlson and several others were predicting that we were about to go to war with Venezuela. In fact, I think Tucker Carlson is actually on the record saying that his sources inside the DOD are saying we are going to go, and then it didn't happen. So we probably still are, which is probably why people aren't grilling Tucker over the fact that his source was just completely wrong. But it's not going to be a traditional war. So before I play this clip, please understand the year is currently 2025. It's not 1969 anymore. We're not boots on the ground. We're not going to go like send 100,000 people to go invade Venezuela. If people think that's what's going to happen, like you need to kind of come back to where we're at right now in the present, because we're basically just going to drone the crap out of them. Going to drone them, obliterate them, and then we might send in some special forces people to clean up the mess. Right? That's really all we have to do. And we're not going to go pick up pieces either. We don't do that. We just destroy things. It's not hard, okay? And if you get upset about any of this, it's reality. I'm not somebody who's here to make you feel good. I'm not selling you vibes and dreams. I'm just telling you this is the way of the world. Take it or leave it. Okay, here we go. Here's our boy Trump talking about the Venezuela situation. Now, listen very carefully here to how he talks. This is how you speak when you are not afraid at all. Have you guys seen those videos where there was a recent one where this streamer was trying to get into this hotel and the security guard hotel guy's like, nah, man, we're not doing this streamer bullshit thing here, right? And the guy's saying, oh, I'll beat you up. I'll fight you. And he's like, oh, you know jujitsu? And he's like, yeah. He's like, oh, you want to do something right now? And he gives him the eyes. He gives him that look. And you done fucked up. Right? You guys have all seen those TikTok videos or whatever. This is the equivalent of that. Here we go.
He can do whatever he wants. I mean, we have a massive armada formed, the biggest we've ever had, and by far the biggest we've ever had in South America. He can do whatever he wants. It's all right. Whatever he wants to do. If he wants to do something, if he plays tough, it'll be the last time he's ever able to play tough. He can do whatever he wants. I mean, we have a...
I just want to play it. Let it play again. That red move right there. He can do whatever he wants, man. You seen those videos? Do whatever you want, bro. You want to fight? Not fight? Somebody comes at you with that level of confidence, you're not in a good spot. You're not in a good spot. You done messed up. You might want to look around, see if your boys are really there. They got your back. They're probably gone. They probably dipped. They probably bounced. So we got a literal armada outside of Venezuela. We got Gorgon stare drones flying over, mapping everything using our Palantir AI that's determining where everybody was at any point. And we can be like, hey, Jarvis, hook me up with Maduro's, where Maduro was last Tuesday. Can you pull that up on the Jarvis Gorgon stare for me, please? And then Jarvis like, sure, Ashton, boom, here we go. And then all of a sudden, boom, we got a video screen and we're just tracking Maduro. Like, yo, how was that croissant that you had? You shouldn't use that much butter. It's bad for your health. Might get a high cholesterol, right? That's the kind of shit we got going on. So, no, I wouldn't worry about, oh, the boots on the ground or whatever. This is going to be a very quick war as far as the length of wars go. It's not really like a equal battlefield type situation. One side has air superiority, water superiority, military might. The other side has like just random janky drug boats. The other side, their technology was literally purchased from us. Their stuff was purchased from us. So one angle to this I do want to talk about. Did I pull it up? I don't have this up. There was a post about this though. This is a rumor, so don't come at me if this ends up being fake. Rumor that Venezuela was helping China with transmedium drones. Maybe I added the transmedium part. Drones up and down the coast of America. Now, I want to say that story doesn't make any goddamn sense to me whatsoever. And that's the reason why I probably didn't pull it up and have it ready to go. But I did see that post, and it does make me wonder about how much China has figured out about this fusion drone technology. Call it UFOs if it makes you feel good, if you need that. Makes me wonder if they don't have alliances with some of our neighbors to get that technology closer to us to spy on us. And this could theoretically fit in with the idea of the New Jersey drone incident that happened last year, or the recent one in Europe as well, is that we aren't going to be the only ones on the block that have fusion drone, plasma drone technology. China and Russia, if they didn't have it in 2014, great. But what's 2025 now? Those MH370 videos have been on the internet for a while. And I guarantee you they know they're real. So that's a story to track in the background. File that one under, maybe bring this one back out if you start hearing some other plot point that lines up with that, data point that lines up with that. The other thing I want to mention real quick, everybody knows I'm the MH370 guy. That's probably how I'm going to be until the day I die now. Isn't it weird that Russia and China have not done or said anything about MH370? There are videos on the internet implicating the United States in the disappearance of the plane. And the only person who's actually gone so far as to connect and implicate those videos, implicate the United States from those videos is me. How come Russia and China aren't like, why isn't Russia Times like retweeting me? Like Russia Times is tweeting shit about Tucker Carlson, like hating America. Why aren't they retweeting somebody like me who's like organically hating America? That's the part that kind of bugs me, because I know those videos are real. Russia and China must know those videos are real, because where else is the plane? And they've got way better surveillance than I have. So they should have some other plot points that, or some other data points that prove that the Americans were involved in this. Why are they silent on this topic? I want you to think about that. And I think actually, Hey Ocean kind of mentioned it, because they're all in on it. That's the only answer, right? because there's some truth to the mystery that they're all in on. And what is the truth to the mystery when it comes to MH370? The UFO technology. But if it's UFO technology, if it's alien technology, why would China and Russia not want to just be like, hey, guys, America has alien technology? Because exposing that, if that was the case, exposing that would mean that, oh, they could potentially catch up. That technology would now be exposed to the public, and now they can have access to it. But they're not doing that. So what it makes me feel like is it's not alien technology once again. It's human technology. And they're all working on that technology. They're all working on that Tesla technology. Turns out America has the best version of it. They just have the version that can literally teleport a Boeing 777. And the reason why China and Russia don't want to say anything is because they're also working on that technology, and they're also working on it in secret. And they don't want any other country. Then this is what the UFO people say. They all say this. They say they don't want anybody else to know how far advanced they've gotten it. They want to keep them in suspense. Can they stop a hypersonic missile? Yes or no, right? Because if you don't know whether or not your opponent can stop a hypersonic missile, you don't know where you stand in the war. If something were to break out and your best thing is a hypersonic missile, and then we teleport it back onto you, GG, bro. GG. No re. Okay, sorry. Just think about that. Because the next thing that we're going to talk about here is the brand new Trump class. Is it a battle cruiser? What is the designation? Somebody in the chat help me out. I think battle cruiser. Oh, it's a new class of ship. So it is a whole new class. The Trump is the class of the new ship. There's a whole new class of ship called the Trump class. And here you go. There's some pretty interesting details about this. We got 2 videos queued up for you guys here. So this is actually just a video of him walking in. And so you can see they've got like an AI video ready to go. And they also had some images ready to go as well. Looking at it, it looks like there's very little windows on it. It almost looks like, kind of like what you would imagine a futuristic destroyer to look like. There's a helipad on the back of it that's pretty low to the water level, but everything else is like protected. There's very little openings on the ship. And he walks in with Rubio, and is that Hegseth with him? Yeah, and Hegseth. I mean, Max, there's so much aura. Somebody pointed this out on social media. The amount of aura walking into this room right now, absolutely crazy. Like literally just going to be in the history books. Donald Trump president, Marco Rubio. We're about to talk about Marco Rubio in a second related to another thing here. In fact, I skipped it. I wanted to come back. I got to come back to that. And Pete Hegseth, Vikings fan. I mean, Pete Hegseth got chat. Forget Sec War. Forget all that. Vikings fan chat. Bleeds purple and gold. Literally #1 credential. Don't at me. Don't at me, chat.
It's beautiful. It's the first renderings of what we're doing. So I want to wish everybody a big hello and Merry Christmas and welcome to Mar-a-Lago for this exciting announcement of the new Golden Fleet. We're calling it the Golden.
Okay, Golden Fleet. Now, let me switch this over real quick. I got a better. That video is just the warm you up video. Here we go. Here's a better one.
5%.
Okay, so here's the details of the ship. Ready? Can I turn this up?
Hypersonic weapons, many hypersonic weapons, state-of-the-art electric rail guns, and even the high-powered lasers that you've been starting to read about. We have lasers where you aim the laser at a target, it just wipes it out.
Chat. What? You just, I mean, I'm having a hard time processing what I just heard. Can you say that again, President Trump? Of course. By the way, first part, People have been telling me for 2 years that America doesn't have hypersonics. If you are somebody who claims to be a geopolitics anything and you thought we didn't have hypersonics, get out. Get out right now. Don't come back. You should be shame on you. Holy crap. You thought we didn't have hypersonics? We've had hypersonics since the 60s, bro. Since the 60s. Anyway, okay, sorry. Crash out probability is rapidly increasing.
Hypersonic weapons, many hypersonic weapons, state-of-the-art electric rail guns, and even the high-powered lasers that you've been starting to read about. We have lasers where you aim the laser at a target, it just wipes it out.
Okay. So not just hypersonics, sure. We're also going to have electromagnetic rail guns. Now, guys, I love electromagnetic rail guns. I'm just trying to understand what the hell we're talking about here. Are we actually talking about like an actual rail gun? Is it going to shoot steel beams at people using electromagnetic kinetic energy? Like, what are we actually talking about? You can't just drop, we're going to have electromagnetic rail guns and not give me some details, bro. Because electromagnetic railgun could be pretty much anything. What do you even mean by that at this point? Especially now that we've learned about electromagnetics. It's like you could argue that what the orbs are doing to MH370 is an electromagnetic railgun. Technically, it's manipulating space-time, but it's like using the energy of the orbs to create this trampoline effect. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in the second half of the live stream tonight. So, electromagnetic railguns. And then the other thing, too, not just the electromagnetic railguns. He also says, also these high-powered lasers that you've been starting to hear about. Am I going crazy, or is nobody talking about high-powered lasers except for me? Who else on the face of the earth right now in social media is talking about high-powered nuclear pump, free electron, relativistic free electron X-ray lasers? Nobody. Literally nobody is talking about this. So he's like, hey, you're starting to hear about these high-powered lasers. Which ones? What are we talking about? Can we be more specific? I want to know exactly what we're talking about here. And this is how they've been able to hide it. They speak in these vague generalities that don't actually mean anything particular. And then this gives room on both sides. It gives room for them for deniability. They're like, yeah, we're going to build it. It has got electromagnetic railguns. And people are like, what are you talking about? There are normies are like, electromagnetic railguns don't exist. Like, that's just some science experiment that you do, right? It's not a real thing. And then the Pentagon's like, yeah, we don't really care what you believe. Sure, you don't want to believe it's real, don't believe it is real. Right? And then the debunkers are like, yeah, no, this is it's not really how it sounds, it gives them room and leeway to downplay it. Because also lasers as well. Guys, lasers, how energy level drops off by the square of the distance. This means that the farther you're trying to shoot a beam of energy, it rapidly loses power. Now, there's a ways around this, but on macroscopic scales that we're talking about, it's not believed that these are feasible. So what kind of lasers exactly are they talking about? Are they talking about high-powered, short-distance lasers that are used in fusion? Are they talking about long-distance quantum interferometer experiments that can produce energy at a distance? Anyway, very interesting to see this conversation and then this reveal from Trump. Now, realize these topics come together. A lot of people hate Trump. A lot of debunkers don't believe in science. They hate science, chat. Redditors specifically hate science. Their world is a simple world where you can be any race you want to be. any sex you want to be. They invented like 15 different genders just in case you want like archetype, anything you want. These are not rational people. So they're not going to believe in any of this stuff. They're going to think all this stuff is fake. They're going to think that aneutronic fusion is fake. They think that it's like Harry Potter magic. That stuff only exists in the movies to them. So don't be surprised when they are betting against aneutronic fusion. Don't be surprised when they're trying to poo-poo the Trump class ultimate dreadnought. I'm just calling it a dreadnought because it sounds awesome. The Trump class dreadnought, right? It's going to be a beast, guys. It's going to be a beast. They're just mad. They hate science. Simple as that. Okay, I'm going to let Trump finish.
We're going to have, there'll be the most sophisticated lasers in the world, and the most sophisticated laser in the world will be on the battleships that we're building. They'll also carry
the most sophisticated laser in the world will be on the battle surface, be on the battlefield, I think he means. What is he actually talking about here? Like, even now I'm perplexed. Like, I'm a guy that's literally just been studying plasma, nuclear weapons, nuclear physics, quantum mechanics. We've got quantum lasers. We got X-ray lasers. We might even be able to get higher power lasers than that. I want to know what he's talking about at this point. I want to hear specifics. And we got to stop letting them get away with not giving us specifics. And the problem is nobody in the room listening to this knows anything about physics. None of them do. None of them have a single clue what the man's talking about. Lasers is already over their head. You'd ask them, what does laser stand for? They'd have no idea. Light amplification by stimulated something of emission. Stimulated amplification of emission. I don't know. I was close. Okay.
carry the nuclear arms. He launched cruise missiles currently under development, which will be instituted pretty quickly, but they're under development and they've proven to be extremely lethal. The U.S. Navy will lead the hypersonic weapons, many hypersonic weapons, state-of-the-art electric rail guns, and even the high-powered.
Oh, sorry. That was like a perfect loop. That like perfect looped right there. So the thing's going to be loaded up with nuclear weapons. It's going to be loaded up with nuclear weapons, hypersonics. It's going to have new cruise missiles that they're working on. It makes me wonder too, guys, like these things, some of these things are going to have to be loaded up with the orbs pretty soon, if they're not already. So what you're seeing here is essentially what Jason Giorgiani laid down in the Hard Truths podcast. We're doing the thing that Trump and Rubio are talking about, which is using the technology that we have to create an American hegemony. That's a good word. We're basically like the Empire in Star Wars, and we are just taking over the various colonies. We're expanding our influence, exerting our influence. We've just parked the Death Star right outside of Hoth. Wait, do they blow up Hoth? I can't remember. I think so. We just parked it right outside of Venezuela, and we're just going, what's up? Do whatever you want to do, Venezuela. Do it. You want to mess around? You want to get crazy? Let's do it. Now, if you think I'm exaggerating even one tiny iota, you are wrong. You are wrong. Look at this. America is quite literally about to annex Greenland. Now, did I believe this right away? No. No, I thought this must be fake news. There is no way that the United States is about to flex on Europe and just literally take all of Greenland. Do you believe that? I still am having a hard time believing it, even though the words are coming out of my mouth right now. Well, here you go. What does this say right here? Trump appoints Marco Rubio special envoy to Greenland. We need it for national security. We have to have it. Now, what I've read, chat, is that when you get appointed a special envoy, that means it's like basically a done deal. This basically means we are sending Marco Rubio to Europe to go tell the filthy Euros that we're taking your land now. Your land is our land now. Wow. This is a major flex. Trump announced he's making Secretary of State Rubio special envoy to Greenland during the Mar-a-Lago battleship announcement, declaring acquisition of the Danish territory is essential for U.S. national security. We need Greenland for national security, not for minerals. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. Why am I saying all of this? Because you have to realize we don't need Greenland for its oil. We actually have a ton of oil. The problem is the oil is expensive to get at. That's the reason why we are not the leading producers of oil. In the Middle East, the oil is right there on the surface. Our oil is more difficult to get to. That's the general idea. So we're not acquiring Greenland for its oil. We're acquiring Greenland because it's close to China and Russia. And we can keep an eye on Europe with this as well, in case they if they don't act right. Because do you think we care about Europe, chat? We like Europe, but if Europeans don't act right, they get the butter on the bread too. So basically, I don't know what to say. Give us Greenland. Hello, Denmark. This is Ambassador Four Orbs coming to you from America. Greenland is ours now. Thank you and good day. How would you like some complimentary Mentos? How about a complimentary bedside turn down service in exchange? You know what? We'll just go ahead and give you. You can just have Marjorie Taylor Greene. You can just have her. She's gonna go live in Denmark now with her weird husband and never come back. Okay. So anyway, they say some more stuff here, but he says some words. Okay, let's listen to what he says here. Sorry, I didn't realize we had a video going on here. Here we go. Video time. Here we go. Hold on, chat.
We'll have to work it all out. But he felt very strongly we need it for we need Greenland for national security. Not for minerals. We have so many sites for minerals and oil and everything. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. And if you take a look at Greenland, you look up and down the coast, you have Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need it for national security. We have to have it. And he wanted to lead the charge. So we're making him, Marco, today, a special envoy to Greenland.
Chat. I've come full 180 on Marco Rubio. Full 180. Love the guy now. He's like the enforcer to me. OMG, chat. If you're listening on audio, there's been a Lulu sighting. She has just jumped onto the couch. OMG, chat. Thankfully, I keep my dog shocker and I practice shocking her to make sure she stays right in that position, right there where everyone can see. Okay. Anyway, we're taking Greenland. It's America's territory now. I think it's going to be like the 51st state or something like that. And anybody who cries about it, you're basically just a communist. There you go. Okay, done with that story. Now, guys, let's get into the deets, the spice, the topic of tonight. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to do this in reverse. We're going to talk science first, chat. Science, and then we're going to talk about tri-alpha energy. Okay? So first, let's start with the science here tonight. Chat, space is a medium. Space itself is a medium. It is a medium of energy. The thing that we got wrong the most, the thing probably holding us back the most right now, is the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory, I was thinking about earlier today. That's the biggest thing holding us back. Because we have this view that all the energy and matter in the universe came into existence suddenly from nothing. And that's why everything exists. Now, it's possibly not entirely incorrect, but there's a big difference, is that the moment you realize that space-time itself, the structure of our space-time itself is energy. The structure of space-time itself is energy. This changes everything. It seems like such a simple, minor difference, but it actually changes everything. And whoever just said that sounds like the creation of plasma, Exactly. You just actually just nailed where I was going with this. Is that space-time itself could almost be thought of as like an extra dimensional plasma. This extra dimension that we don't see around us that's got this invisible plasma in it. And a plasma is just positive and minus charges. Everything is just positive and minus charges, which is why Dr. Yu from NASA and his Yuon theory is so compelling. Is because he says everything's just a magnet, positive, minus. So, the reason why I bring this up, listen here to this video clip. I'm going to actually interview, I think, Dana here. I don't know when, but I've asked her for an interview. I think she'll do it. She was actually pestering me for it. So, she was interviewing Nick Cook, actually. I happened to look through her feed, and she had Nick Cook on. Now, Nick Cook is quasi-famous, whatever you want to say, for his book on the hunt for 0-point energy. I've actually reached out to him, too, because I want to talk to him about his research. But Nick Cook he was an author for a defense contract, or author for a magazine that did work in the defense industry, and he had access to intelligence sources, defense contractor sources, and he found out about 0-point energy. Things started to leak to him. He started to put the pieces together. Now, let's listen to their conversation here. I think this conversation is very enlightening, at least for me.
But why it has been naturally suppressed?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons. The first, of course, as it relates to the plasma that is, this sort of substrate as you have defined it, of the universe, is simply because it does not fit in with the cosmology of the Big Bang. That is the official quotes cosmology of our universe is Big Bang theory, and it doesn't allow for this plasma substrate to be the 99.999% stuff of the universe. It's only been in the last, I don't know, maybe 40 years or so that the knowledge of plasma existing to that level, in excess of 99% within the universe, that has really entered the mainstream of ideas.
So, I hadn't really thought about it that much, but it really is the case, isn't it? When you think about it, we have this dogma. We have this dogma that we've developed as humans, and we have decided that the Big Bang must be the reason for our existence. That the Big Bang is the reason why we're here, why everything is here. But if you look at that, that really is dogma. That's a religion. That's a religious belief. No different at all than believing in, any other religion. None at all. And once you realize that, you go, okay, are we able to look past our biases? Are we able to say, maybe that's just an assumption that the Big Bang happened? Which assumptions led to that? Because we see redshift? Because everywhere in the sky we see redshift? What if there's another answer for that we just simply haven't realized yet? It's kind of sad that when you boil this all down, it all kind of comes back to this religious, almost like a desire that humans have, that we have to believe in something greater than ourselves that we don't understand. And that's what I think the Big Bang has become. The Big Bang has become this religious belief that we have, that the reason why we're not willing to look at models that include things like Clues-Klein and electromagnetism being unified with gravity is because we've deluded ourselves into believing that space is empty.
Yeah.
So in some senses, I'm not surprised I haven't encountered it, because academia hasn't been talking about it. The other reason is because it's bound up with, I think, some quite sensitive, militarily sensitive work. In my previous life as an aerospace and defense journalist, was the aerospace editor of a magazine called Jane's Defense Weekly, which had sort of really phenomenal access to the militaries and intelligence communities of most countries in the world. And I spent a lot of time in the States looking at exotic weapons and new weapon systems and analyzing those.
So I've heard enough. Now I know Nick Cook knows. Nick Cook might not really know exactly what we've got, but Nick Cook's like, look, I was talking to intelligence people. I was, a writer. I would review all these cutting edge weapons and I would look at them. And that to me is the big thing. It turns out, who was it? I think it was actually Kurt Metzger made this point. He said it's all out there. Nobody looks. Nobody looks. So if you want to know who are the people that know, it's going to be the people that researched it. And a lot of them just did it as part of their jobs because they were they were editors. So he was the editor of a magazine that reviewed defense contractor weapons. And he starts to realize, like, these weapons don't really fit within the classical view of physics. Or look at Eugene Malev, who we were talking about last week. Eugene Malev was the editor and author of Infinite Energy magazine, talking about cold fusion, talking about fusion research and the advancements of fusion research. These are the people that generally know. But I don't think they know that the technology is national security. They know it's wound up in military defense contractors, but they don't know exactly what it is. Like, they don't know necessarily how it works or exactly what it's capable of. They just know that it's very advanced.
In the 80s and 90s, there was the emergence of these new directed energy weapons like lasers and even things like, plasma cannons. They sound like something out of Star Trek, but these were real devices that were being explored through Ronald Reagan's strategic defense initiative called Star Wars.
Well, would you look at what we have here? Plasma weapons, plasma cannons that were coming out of SSI or the Star Wars initiative from Ronald Reagan. Wow, chat. So, yes, let me just say yes to all of the above. And this is what it goes to show, that this stuff, they were really considering these weapons back in the 80s or the 70s. They were considering all this quantum interferometry, considering these cold explosions, plasma weapons. So where did they all go? Where did they all go? It's now 2025. We've got all these papers talking about futuristic weapon systems, propulsion systems, and yet, from the public perspective, we see nothing. We see nothing. Meanwhile, you got the Anduril guy, Palmer Luckey or whatever his name is, and he's out here saying, I think that the UFOs are humans from the past. He's out here saying it's easy to optically cloak things. It's not even as easy. It literally went on this interview. I think it was like a week or two ago. And he's just telling the interview lady, he's going, we can cloak things optically so that you can't see it, make things invisible. He's like, that's easy, but it's not really even worthwhile. Why would he even bother with that? Because everybody's using IR cameras anyway. So anybody who's got an IR camera is still going to see you if you're optically cloaked. So he's like, it doesn't really have any practical value. What do you mean you're just casually talking about this? Like it's no big deal? That's kind of why I like him, by the way. I kind of like that guy. Okay, anyway, let's finish this.
And so a lot of that technology is plasma related. And I think that other suppression has come from that direction. People don't want us to know about plasma because once you start getting into plasma, you get into some quite sensitive areas militarily.
Yes. Yeah, I think, and I wrote about this in my book in chapter 2, that it is a suppression because of national security.
Yes, you start to get into some pretty interesting areas from the plasma perspective. He says something else in the second clip, which I think just triggered me, but I think I forgot it. I don't have it up here. So plasma weapons, Oh, he says something about the plasma sheath as well. He said something about they were using the plasma sheath to, either reduce drag or to make things optically, invisible. So again, guys, I have to say, of all the research I've done, one of the things I'm most confident of, which I don't think I saw anybody else put these pieces together before, was figuring out that when they were building their hypersonics and using this plasma sheath, a laser that ionizes the air in front of the craft, makes it fly faster, they turned that's what they did to turn it into an orb, a drone. First, you make the plasma sheath and you're like, oh, it turns out this plasma is like literally reducing the drag on my craft. What if we just encase the whole craft in plasma? We'll just be able to float around like a balloon? Yeah, pretty much. Okay, let's look at some cool stuff now. So now I think I can switch to the image version here. So this is the answer right here. I'm gonna say, Ashton, what am I looking at here? Is this fancy artwork? Look at what you're looking right here. You're looking at perpetual motion. You're looking at perpetual motion. You are looking at the universe right here. You are looking at the universe right here. So you see, you've got, can I change the shape of this? There we go, like that. Nice. You've got this matrix, this grid format. And you can see there are things moving around in it, but there's still conservation, which means that everything that moves causes something else to move back into place. So all that's really happening in this image you look at is matter is just moving around, being replaced by from one spot with the other. And pressure simply causes this to occur. You've got this pressure that's formed. And so you have these lines that basically form in the lattice structure, like rivers basically flowing through the lattice structure. This is basically how the universe works. So why is this so big? So when I talk about some of these physics concepts, I want you to imagine this image. When I talk about things being in equilibrium, I'm talking about when everything is frozen. Like these parts of this image right here you see that are not moving at all, the parts that are pretty much stationary here, the parts that aren't the river. This is equilibrium. Equilibrium means everything is matched up. All the positives and minuses are matched up. Everything is chill. Non-equilibrium, asymmetry, is the stuff that's moving around, like the waterfall. Remember, what's an example of asymmetry? Example of asymmetry is the waterfall. We can harness energy from a waterfall. The waterfall is just there because of nature. Because of the topology of nature itself, this waterfall exists. Water is flowing from up here to down here, and we can just tap into that water and use it as a water mill. We can make energy out of it. This is the same thing we can do with space-time itself. So why is it so important that space is not empty? Because when space is not empty, this is our reality now. Now we look at this and we go, wait a minute. If I want to get free energy, all I have to do is ride the wave. All I have to do is ride one of these waves or make one of these waves. And do you want to know what these waves are that you're looking at moving around here throughout this graphic? Those are gravity waves. If the dots are the space-time, then what you're seeing there are the gravity waves. You're seeing warp drives. This is an image of warp drives moving around throughout the lattice structure of our space-time universe. They're moving under their own accord, as opposed to just the Earth, which is stuck in a particular spot that's not moving under its own control. These would be warp drives that are moving under their own control using the asymmetry, moving the space-time around. Moving the space-time around to cause thrust. And the most important part, like when Sabine Hossenfelder and the rest say that warp drives violate conservation. No, they don't. This is why they don't violate conservation. You're looking at it right here. Nothing in this image is violating conservation. There's nothing excess being created in this image. Things are just being moved around. That's it. And this is why they don't understand negative energy. Because in a negative energy situation, you can create a ripple like these little ripples moving around through this image. And because of conservation, they must eventually balance out. Sabine! She let us down, chat. Now, I've got another image for you. Because I love these images. For me, I'm a visual learner. So when I'm trying to learn how these concepts work, I need something like this to really wrap my brain around it. And this, when I saw this one, this is the best image to understand the lattice structure of space-time itself as an energy fluid, where the matter is moving through it, where you have these ripples, gravity waves that we can harness, that we can tap into these asymmetries. And these asymmetries can be used to generate electricity. They can be used to move around and avoid inertia. Here's another image for you. This one's also amazing. Shout out to this guy, the Mirza Bieg. I don't know, man. Why do these people have the worst names? The Mirza Bieg. I don't know, bro. Okay, well, whatever. I tried. This is a visualization of gravity. This is what gravity really is. So I just showed you one visualization of gravity. How does matter, like a planet, manipulate the gravity? Look at what it does. Look at what the planet actually does. Because now in this image, can I not make this wide? Why is this doing this to me? Hold on. I guess I'd have to reshare or something. There we go. Okay. Now in this image, imagine we can see the lattice structure. The lattice structure is the matrix grid of the blue lines. So imagine a situation where there's no planet there. You just imagine just rows and columns of cubes that are unimpacted. That's our 0-point energy. So our space-time has this lattice structure. And when positive matter like the Earth or you or me touch this space-time, it bends the space-time. This is what we refer to when we're talking about bending the space-time. However you visualize it, however you want to conceptualize it, this is the visualization of that effect. Is that what's happening here is that the geometry of the lattice structure is actually changing. This is what the idea of bending space-time is. The geometry of the lattice structure changes. Now watch this closely now that I've described it. As the Earth gets moved around, you can see how the lattice structure kind of folds in. This is a visualization of gravity. Now, let's go back to the beginning of this image. Or actually, let's just watch it for a second here. So you can see how wherever it moves, it manipulates that 0-point energy, manipulates that lattice structure. So we're creating those ripples just like we saw in the previous image. We're creating these little ripples here. Now, anywhere where you were to exist, this is the thing I want to point out. I'm going to connect this now to time travel for you. Okay. Look at the grid structure and look at the Earth. However much bending, however much warping you see of that curve structure, of that lattice space-time structure, that thing we're calling gravity, however much bending of that you see, warping of that you see, that determines your interval rate of time. What? Yes. However much that lattice structure is being stretched determines how your rate of time flows. Now, before you freak out, the reason why you don't feel this is because for you, time is always flowing normally. There's no such thing as warped time for you because our perspective of our reality, we're all on the same Earth. But if you were to go into outer space and you were on the part of this lattice structure that's not bent, your time is going to flow at a different rate than somebody who's on Earth. Literally, your time will flow at a different rate. No ambiguity about it. So what you're seeing here is actually a visualization, not just of gravity, and not just of how planets manipulate the space-time structure, the 0-point energy. You're actually seeing a visualization of the flow of time, of the different rates of time. So somebody on the Earth, on the surface of the Earth, where you see the warping is higher, is going to have a different rate of time, slower rate of time than somebody who's in deep outer space where there's no mass near them. And it gets even worse. The more the mass is on this planet, the more warping there is. And this is why when you go near a black hole, your time stops. When you approach the black hole, the warping is so much that time will seem to stop for the people who are looking at you. And this is the idea of how even a wormhole becomes theoretically possible. And that's the reason why I wanted to pull that up. So that's your visualization. So those are two of probably some of the best visualizations I've seen all year. So the first one, let me share these again. Oh, well, we're sneaking ahead to the next one, but that's fine. Okay, so the first one here, seeing the visualization of, perpetual motion, how perpetual motion is possible, seeing the visualization of the warp drive through the space-time structure. And this one here, seeing the geometry of how it's bent, seeing how time flows at different rates based on the warping of the space-time structure itself. Specifically, the beginning here is the best, like seeing this right there. And then this last image here, this one's just for the dudes. This one's just for the hardcore dudes right here. What this is essentially saying is that a helix structure is a combination of a sine and a cosine wave. And what's happening is that we are missing a dimension. That it's almost like we aren't seeing the big picture of everything. There's an extra dimension that we are missing. And in my opinion, that's why entanglement exists. Is that all points in space and time are really connected. But we live in this, we're limited and we're stuck, contained in this three-dimensional reality that we can't see the rest of. And this is why helix structures, vortex structures, sine waves are so significant, because these are the physical manifestations of that extra dimension in our limited three-dimensional reality. The same way where a two-dimensional video game character could never escape from their two-dimensional reality because they're stuck in the screen. We're stuck in this 0 point energy, this lattice structure of space-time you see all around you. But what this opens the door up to, it doesn't limit us. Actually, quite the opposite. Because now that we looked at these images, now we've seen we're in a matrix. We're in a matrix, and the matrix itself stores energy. So how do you escape from the matrix? Tap into the energy of the matrix itself. Tap into the source code of it. That's how you escape from the matrix. So there's one more piece of lore that I want to connect this to, and then we're going to go look at tri-alpha energy, because this all connects back to nuclear weapons, at least for me. And this lore that I had heard of, but I had never really looked into, is called the hafnium conspiracy. Now, I did a little Googling on it to get some background on this because I wasn't really sure. And I wanted to have it compared to some of the theories that I've put forth. And I got to be honest, the AI is pretty crappy, at least at this. AI is not good at doing subjective analysis. It's good at just doing math and numbers and regurgitating data. But even having to try to do comparisons, unless you're specific, it's really bad. But what I do want to point out, so the hafnium conspiracy is this idea that you can have an atom be in an excited state for a significant period of time and then unlock that energy at will. That's the basic idea boiled down. And when I heard that, I went, holy shit, are you kidding me? Because when we look at the MH370 videos, we can see there's very clearly a big release of energy where a plane disappears. So that has to be a huge release of energy, and presumably it reappears somewhere else. And Hal Puthoff's ground state of the hydrogen atom, Hal Puthoff has been saying that every atom, the reason why the electron spins around the atom and doesn't crash into the atom, is because it's absorbing energy from the 0-point energy, from that lattice structure. Hal Puthoff's saying that every atom is connected to the lattice structure of space-time, and it pulls energy out of it as needed to go back into equilibrium. Just like that graphic we were showing. Constantly trying to go back to equilibrium. But if this is true, then in theory, this should allow for us to use that energy and basically bounce off of that energy like a trampoline. In theory, we should be able to pull some of that energy out of the space-time structure and store it here, and then it's going to release. We should basically be able to pluck a string on a guitar and yank some of that energy out, and we should see a reaction. We should see that occur. So if that's the case, this hafnium conspiracy sounds really, really similar to 0-point energy, and it sounds really similar to Randall Mills' hydrino theory, where the hydrogen atom has stable states at fractions of the orbital. Because all this is about is like, imagine your electron is spinning around your atom. How it spins around the atom is actually a wave function. And there are stable wave functions where that wave will be in a standing wave, meaning that it perfectly fits between the walls of the orbital path. I believe that explains the electron orbitals themselves. So if there are stable waveforms at higher or lower values than baseline, then in theory, you have created or opened the door from a physics perspective to create a trampoline effect. And that's what the hafnium theory is basically saying. They're saying they figured out this one element will cause a basic instantaneous release of energy that can be stored up and ready to be released whenever you want. I have to say, guys, I am not ready to go all in on this, but there's a slight non-zero chance that what we're seeing in the MH370 videos is some form of hafnium bomb. I don't know what the classification of it is. I've presumed it to be a fusion bomb, but maybe from a technical perspective, there's not actually fusion occurring there. Maybe it is some kind of new weapon type that doesn't have a classification. So anyway, hafnium conspiracy I thought was really interesting because it all goes back to, once again, the atom, nuclear power, nuclear energy. And people need to understand the difference between fission and fusion and what it really means when we're tapping in to these energies. Because it may be that we're not just getting the chemical energy out, the strict chemical reaction. If there is a lattice structure of space-time, it means we're actually tapping in to that lattice structure of space-time, which means if this is true, that what we would expect is when we start doing these fusion experiments, we're starting to see anomalous energy gain that goes beyond what would be output from a chemical perspective. If we start to see that, we're going to know right away 0-point energy is real, space-time is not empty, all of the above. Now that I've laid the groundwork for you, do you understand why Trump just bought Tri-Alpha Energy for $6 billion with a B? Out of all the companies in the whole world that Trump Media Group could have invested in, they'd take Tri-Alpha Energy, and not for a little bit of money either. $6 billion is a lot. $6 billion is a lot of money. Now, once again, I'm going to repeat this. The unique thing about Tri-Alpha Energy is their field reverse configuration. So it all has to do with what is your geometry for trying to produce your fusion. Most right now are trying to do it through something called a stellarator or a tokamak. These are basically donuts, either a twisty donut or just a straight up donut. And That's a smart idea. It's not bad. The difference between them and the field reverse configuration, in the field reverse configuration, you're just shooting at each other in a line. Now, the downside is that this has exhaust. And I think that's the secret. I think that might be the big secret. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but what if it turns out that you don't want a donut because you want there to be some exhaust? If you look at the universe as an energy system, just like we were looking at with the little snakes moving around through the lattice structure, exhaust isn't some bad thing. It's just a natural process. So you actually don't mind exhaust. You say, so what? Just shoot the X-rays or the exhaust in that direction. In fact, you might be able to actually use it as propulsion. You might be able to just use the exhaust as propulsion. Net win, actually. In Magic cards, one of the most effective strategies is to use the negative effect as a positive effect. People say, oh, you just made me mill my cards into my graveyard. Everybody hates being milled in Magic cards. Well, what if you use reanimation effects, where now you just milled my super creature into my graveyard? I'm just going to reanimate him onto the board for very cheap. This is the same idea. Is we can use the negative effect of the expellant, of the exhaust, and we can use that as propulsion. Okay, what I want to listen to next here, now that I've explained that, let's have Devin Nunes. Yeah, he is the Trump Media CEO, I just confirmed. Oh, Lulu's done with y'all, chat. Chat, I got to shock my dog. Here we go. Let me reach over for my dog shocker. Bzz, bzz. Nope, she's not listening. Okay. Now let's listen to Devin Nunes in his own words, because to me, it's actually more impactful to just listen to how they talk about this stuff, guys. So once again, this is not a short-term investment. Once again, you can invest right now in DJT is the sticker. If you do invest in DJT, the moment this deal becomes official, all of TAE's assets are now technically under TAE or under DJT. So technically, when you are buying Donald J. Trump right now, technically you are speculating that the deal will go through and everything will go through fine. Keep in mind, the deal is a $6 billion deal. DJT is only currently valued at about $4.5 billion on the books. The valuation of a company is based on the total shares outstanding times the stock price. So right now, the valuation, the outlook from the public's perspective is very low on DJT. Very low. And there's like it's like assets to, what is it? Assets to profit or revenue ratio or whatever it is. I can't remember, but a lot of companies there, I think P to E or something like that. Oh crap. I can't remember. No, I'm saying the wrong thing. Never mind. There was some ratio that I was reading about yesterday. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was, I think, like the amount of assets they had divided by the valuation of the company. And for a lot of people, like, they speculate on these internet companies, and their actual assets are only like 1/100th of their actual their value is only like 100 times their assets. In this case, DJT is actually pretty good in that sense. Like, theirs is actually relatively low. So when you're investing in DJT, you're actually investing in something that's substantial and not over speculated on and possibly undervalued. Okay, that's enough for me propping them up. Here we go.
Invention since the first Manhattan Project that led to atomic power 75 years ago. They knew about nuclear fusion, but largely because of the anti-nuclear scheme and that or kind of the government, everybody went against nuclear power for whatever reason, even though it's an important part of the long-term solution. Nuclear fusion didn't have the investment that it needed. But over the course of the last 25 years with Chuck Schwab, Stanley Druckenmiller, Chevron, Google, many others, this was privately funded. They built 5 generations of machines. And now where we come in as being that kind of tip of the spear, the energy problem has to be solved to make America energy independent. They're ready to build their first commercial reactor. They're ready to find a state, find the site, get it built. So that's where we come in. They needed to come public. They needed the capital to be able to go out and get this built. So it really is a perfect merger. It keeps Trump Media and Technology Group right on our mission, which is solving the most important problems of our time. We had a free speech problem, solved it. Now we have an energy problem. And you know this as well as anyone, the United States.
So he just said exactly what it was. So again, a lot of time you just have to go look for the answer. Why did TAE want this deal? Because TAE wanted the money so that they could go build a reactor. Guys, we're not talking about just building a reactor. We're talking about building a whole power plant here. We're talking about building a whole power plant. It's going to cost $100 million, several $100 million potentially. I mean, how much you guys think, even on a small reactor, the power plant is still a non-trivial thing to build. Minimum tens of millions, if I had to guess. So it's not like they have $100 million sitting around to go build a reactor. So they wanted access to the funding because they don't have a commercial reactor ready to go yet. I mean, they have the designs, they've built the prototypes, but they don't have one ready to go. And they need the contracts, they need the deals. What they want to do is they want to sign a deal with a state to have the state buy and build their fusion reactor. This is basically the same thing Commonwealth Fusion did with like Virginia. That's what they're angling for here. And there's no better way to get that done than to literally be hooked up with the president of the United States, the guy who's dictating the policy about our entire country. So for me, this is exactly what I want to hear. Now, keep in mind, if you're investing right now, this gives us a timeline as well. You would expect to see a stock price go up when some of these deals begin to get signed. Like imagine in a few months, TAE now signs a deal with, let's just say, New York to build a fusion reactor in New York. Now the value of TAE is going to go up, right? These are the kinds of things like, so contractual deals like that will be what will drive the stock price at this point. So I'm excited about it. I got to be honest. To me, it looks like a very undervalued stock, if anything. And anyway, I'm going to let him talk because he talks more about it.
It's went into windmills and solar panels. Meanwhile, China built coal plants and nuclear plants. And we really are, if you want AI to work, all these data centers to work, electric cars, everybody wants all this. But without power, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So this puts Trump Media Technology right at the tip between the technology that we all want to happen and the energy that we need. And this invention, like I said, this is really Manhattan Project #2, building off of what was done some 75 years ago.
I will tell you, folks.
I mean, the part that's bugging me out, he keeps repeating this. He keeps repeating this and keeps saying this is Manhattan Project 2. Guys, are you kidding me? It's like, it's almost like he's watching my live streams just saying what I'm saying. Who else is saying this? Who else would say that the fusion is the Manhattan Project 2? I've never heard anybody say this except for me saying that, like, hey, guys, we literally figured fusion out with the H-bomb and the Manhattan Project. If we figured the fusion bomb out, presumably we figured out how fusion works. Kind of a prerequisite to figure out how to make a fusion bomb, especially a super efficient one. But we've been pretending like we don't have the answer for like 60 years. What's going on? And I mean, if you read between the lines here, these guys figured it out. Like these guys, Trump and his crew figured out where the secrets were, where the bodies were being buried. And now he's just cashing in. Trump is doing what Trump does. Trump is predictable. He's not a liar. I mean, sometimes, but he's mostly not tells the truth. And he is self-serving. So when I see Trump go buy this company, you better be damn sure I'm getting involved. I keep telling you guys, put your money where the elites are putting their money. They're pretty good about making money and abusing inside information. Why are we not going all in on this? I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, you tell me, what is a better deal? Where else should I be putting my money if not in Tri-Alpha Energy and DJT? What is a better deal than this? The only other things I could even think of would be like Anduril or some of these other Palantir and these other defense contractors who clearly just like have the game rigged. So, okay.
There is so whether you believe like AI or not, it's here to stay. It's not here to stay. It's going to become more and more ingrained into every single thing we do, or how we work, how we study, how we live. It's part of it. But the thing about AI, it requires a lot of data. So it requires a lot of natural gas, crude, and technology. Is this an energy?
Exactly. You're exactly right. No matter how big you think AI is going to be or is today, energy consumption is on the rise in this country. Now, some people think we're going to need double the electricity over the course of the next 10 years. Some people think it's even going to be more than that, but we're going to need more energy, not less. And the beauty of this technology is that when successful, this is going to be competitive with natural gas and coal. So this will ultimately, this is why I say this is the Manhattan Project 2 and why it's so important. If this works, it's transformational for our whole economy and everyone around the globe. And I said this, yesterday on an interview that, no matter what you think about, there's so many people out there that root against the president, and the country's been so divided. This is something that can unite everybody, right? This is something where we have our retail investors, our company that has been built over the last year and a half, now coming together with traditional institutional investors like Schwab and others, where we bring this into one company. Everybody should want this to succeed for your own good, for your family's own good. If you want to bring industry back to this country, if you want us to be the AI center of the globe, we're going to have to have more power. I mean, you even had, Elon.
Chat, he's just literally stealing my talking points word for word. Everybody should want this to be real. Isn't this what I said about the MH370 videos? How many times have I said this? People should want those videos to be real. It changes everything about our reality. We have free energy and teleportation. Warp drives are possible. Replicators are going to be possible in the future. We can probably travel anywhere we want to go. This is why I say, guys, like part of this stock, part of the reason why I like this stock actually is why people hate it. It reminds me of Tesla in the early days. If you guys don't remember the early days of Tesla, they were message boards and Google finance boards where everybody hated Tesla. They were all short selling Tesla. They said Tesla would never be profitable. They said the books on Tesla show that it's guaranteed going to fail. Now Tesla is one of the most profitable, highest value companies in the entire world. Trump derangement syndrome does something weird to people, chat. It makes them go against their own self-interests. And this is what Devin Nunes is saying here. This is what I've been saying, is that people should want this stuff to be real. You should want fusion to work out. Fusion works out. It's the end of the climate crisis. Air quotes intended. So I don't think they want it to work. I actually am not sure Democrats want fusion to work for some of these reasons, because you lose a lot of your talking points about climate change. You actually lose a lot of talking points. You lose your whole slave class of labor when AI and cheap, free or green energy can basically just do everything out there. And make no mistake, guys, we are entering a world, possibly within all of our lifetimes, certainly within the lifetimes of the younger millennials, where the question of whether or not people even have to work is going to come up. We are entering the world. And when fusion comes online and we can produce energy for pennies on the dollar compared to where we can produce it today, these questions are going to become the main questions in economics. How does a capitalist society even continue? I think that Donald J. Trump wanted to stamp his name on the legacy of something he knew was going to be around for the next 100, next 1,000 years, which is fusion, specifically aneutronic fusion.
Elon Musk, just a couple of weeks ago, announced that he was going to have to put data centers up in space. I'm sure that he's going to do that. But that's, even at Elon's speed, that's probably going to be a year or 2 or 3 away. So in the meantime, we need a lot more power and a lot of it. And this breakthrough will be the biggest invention, like I said, since the first Manhattan Project and the ability to create power out of atomic.
And as soon as that can be done at scale, as soon as you get them running and rolling, they'll be created smaller and cheaper and produce more power.
I mean, listen to what he's saying. It doesn't sound like he's not just hyping it up. He believes what he's saying here. I've listened to a lot of hype people that just say shit to try to hype you up. Devin Nunes absolutely 100 believes what he's saying here. And that's why they bought the company for sure. He's saying this is going to change everything. And aneutronic fusion will. Aneutronic fusion will change absolutely everything.
Devin, finish this sentence for me. In 5 years, folks are going to realize what a great deal this was 5 years ago because, finish that.
It's the biggest invention ever, really. I mean, it's in modern history. I mean, that's the bottom line. If this, is successful, this is, one of the experts said it.
The biggest invention in modern history.
The other day, this is a $6 billion play. But if it works, it's $1 trillion or more play, because it's a winner take most. That's how I look at it, Eric. Whoever cracks the code on this will be the major power supplier. And I'm not saying we're going to be supplying power as a company. We don't know where we'll go, but we'll definitely be selling, licensing this technology. And the first plant is going to be 50 megawatt, with the additional plants after that somewhere between 350 and 500 megawatts. Now, what does that mean? You probably understand this, Eric, but for the listener out there, the viewer, when you're at the 350 to 500 megawatt range, that is the size you need to do mass scale to provide base power in this country. If you think about it, a traditional nuclear reactor is around 1,000 megawatts. A lot of the natural gas plants you see are anywhere from that 250 to 1,000 range. Same with the coal-fired power plants. So it puts us right into that space. And unlike what you're showing on the screen there, you don't need all that with this.
Right.
Yeah, this is crazy, man. So he's saying we don't need these huge power plants to do this. And he's even saying we might even just license the technology. Funny, when he's talking about licensing the technology, you know what he's talking about? He's talking about licensing plasmoid technology. Field reverse configuration is just a fancy way of saying plasmoids. They just changed the words because you got to give it more credibility. You say plasmoid in 1990 and people think you're a little kooky, right? But so they had to change it to field reverse configuration. That's what we call it now. They still produce plasmoids. They just don't talk about plasmoids nearly as much. So we've got this technology, and it's going to potentially change the world. And he's saying this is a $6 billion play that could be a $1 trillion play. This is the reason why I'm invested in it. I'm not looking at it for next week. I'm looking at this like, where is this company 5 years from now? If DJT has a reactor online 5 years from now, we're looking really good. At that point, DJT is probably a $50 billion company, right? And that's 5 years from now. 10 years from now, DJT could be a $1 trillion company. If this does work out, if they're able to license it, if they're able to leverage their connections, a lot of things have to work out. But in my opinion, they got better chances if I'm rolling those dice than anybody. Even better chances than Helium Fusion. Though when Helium Fusion goes IPO, I will probably invest in them. I just want to compare, what am I getting for my money? Right? So that's the background on that. That was the last part of let me see if there's anything else he says here in this clip.
This is nuclear fusion is radioactive free. So we can be successful at burning boron.
There are those that think you'll be able to have
Whoa. Do you guys hear what he just snuck in there, chat? Did you hear what Devin Nunes? Listen carefully. Here we go. I'm going to back it up like 10 seconds.
Nuclear fusion is radioactive free, so we can be successful at burning boron.
There are those that think
nuclear fusion is radioactive free. We're successful at burning boron, he just said. Chat, my spider sense, chat. My spider sense is going off right now, and I'll tell you why. Devin Nunes is openly talking about burning boron-11 as his aneutronic fusion fuel. Here's the problem. Boron is the most difficult fusion fuel out of all of them. It's the most difficult one out of the aneutronic fusion fuels as well. As far as I know, nobody has successfully showed any overunity with boron-11 yet. I could be wrong, but I have not seen any of those results. Even helium fusion has been using helium-3. Even they have not broached boron-11 yet. So it almost sounds like they already know they can do boron-11 fusion right now. If they're building their next reactor and it's already doing boron-11 fusion, yeah, I'm all in, baby. I'm all in. Because that means they've basically been holding back from what they're telling the public. And they're actually way further along than what the public is aware of. I'm pretty sure right now people are already making those, I'm a nuclear physicist, and this is why this deal is stupid and why aneutronic fusion will never work. People are already making those videos right now on this. And does it look like Tri-Alpha Energy is phased? No. In fact, they don't care if people don't know. If people don't realize what they're really capable of, why do they care? Their owners, the people that just own their company, they just got $6 billion. They just got their value of their stock, just their money. They just had nothing in their pockets, and now they've got billions and hundreds of millions. So It works out well for everybody. Works out well for everybody. Okay, now I want to switch over to a different video. And before I do that, I want to show this as well. So these live streams, my content is not just about shooting you BS, telling you how I feel. A lot of it's about showing you the science. This is quite literally a scientific paper by the Tri-Alpha Energy engineers. Generation of field reverse configurations via neutral beam injection. Why is this one so big? This is actually just from recently, April of 2025. This is where Tri-Alpha Energy realized they could get rid of their little accelerators that are shooting the plasmas at each other. They don't even need that part anymore. They can get rid of the two things on the side, get rid of those. The neutral beams in the middle that keep the thing spinning, they can produce a field reverse configuration just from the neutral beam injectors. So now you've just taken out like half of your reactor is no longer needed anymore. To me, this is the equivalent of going from a situation where you were like burning logs, like, putting logs together, rubbing logs together to make a fire, to now just being able to go like this with the lighter. That's basically the equivalent of the upgrade right there. So in the context of, has Tri-Alpha Energy possibly got some hidden methods and sources that they're not telling the public? I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to go probability is pretty high because they've just got rid of like the two biggest components of their reactor. And now they can just spin up FRCs in like a tiny chamber, basically, that's got like little bit laser beams shooting into it. Wow. That seems like, I did not expect that. And that seems like a pretty big advancement in field reverse configuration, especially when we're talking about plasma balls, because those plasma balls spinning around in the sky, floating around, they don't have huge accelerators attached to them. So there must be some way to, at a minimum, keep them stable and possibly even just produce them at will. Pretty cool, right? Okay, last thing. And actually, this is kind of a long one, so we're going to just watch part of this. I got a video of Tri-Alpha Energy from just a few weeks ago. Look at this, chat. Will you look at this here? What do we have here? Looky here. 2 months ago, chat. 2 months ago. Go away, timeline. Only 4,000 views. October 14th, 2025. TAE Technologies Fusion Lab Tour. So there's a lot of noobs out there, a lot of primitives that are not in, they don't live at everything in our town. I always write about everythingsville. I always write about everything city. They think that Tri-Alpha Energy hasn't built anything. They think that Tri-Alpha Energy hasn't done anything. We're here to tell them Tri-Alpha Energy has whole YouTube videos showing off their literal reactor that they've built, where they've done all of this. And they've been doing this, like Devin Nunes said, for generations. Maybe generations, but generations of devices. Okay, so here she is talking about field reverse configuration. Let's just listen.
It is that we need to being able to make the plasma, heat it up, stabilize.
By the way, before I can already tell what some of y'all are thinking. Some of y'all are thinking, what do they have DEI requirements? Some of these people, they look a little bit libtarded. They're looking a little bit touched. Like they might have voted for Kamala Harris. I'm just going to tell you guys, Kamala Harris voters are some of the best workers in the world. They don't ask any questions. They are straight up machines. You can just program them to do whatever you want them to do. They won't ask. They'll be sitting there literally working on a neutronic fusion technology, and they'll have no idea what's really going on. They won't even think twice about like, hey, how does this work? Hey, is this like producing free energy? No, they won't ask those questions. They will just do whatever they're told, whatever the government tells them to do. So don't judge them based on how many libtards they have in these videos. Please, chat. Here we go.
Confine it and control it. And this is really the art of doing plasma science. So TAE approach is this very unique type of plasma configuration called field reverse configuration, or FRC. So what really is, it's about the shape of the plasma. So other devices like tokamaks, they have like a donut-shaped plasma. In our device, the FRC is more of a small ring that is spinning. And as it spins, it creates its own magnetic field, and then it self-organizes, similarly to a tornado that kind of self-organizes out of thin air. So you can imagine that to get this special type of plasma, the FRC, you need very special conditions the same way as a tornado does.
So the big secret of this FRC stuff, now you're seeing like you have to make a tornado. Like all of a sudden you just start spinning your lasers, right? And they start spinning and all of a sudden, boom, plasma just appears. And it creates this stable form. And you would look at it, you go, oh, that's weird. Why is that happening? It's too stable. It shouldn't be so stable. The reason why they're so stable is because space-time's not empty. Because space is not an empty vacuum. The same reason why the atom is stable. Why is the atom stable? What did I say at the beginning, chat? Why is the atom stable even though the electron is zipping around it going super speed? Because space-time is a medium of energy and the electron is absorbing that energy. So plasma is just a bunch of electrons. You can imagine plasma as a giant atom, a sea of negative and positive charges. So if you start to spin it up, you can see these self-organizing properties begin to occur because it's abusing the fact that energy is now being exchanged with the 0-point energy, with the medium itself. That's my rationale, my explanation for why this self-organization and this long-lasting stability exists when it shouldn't. Just like with a smoke ring. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here because I'm lazy. So I want to go to this part, magnetic confinement.
Confinement vessel, where behind some of these diagnostics and cables, you might be able to see some of these red ring-shaped cases. These red steel cases contain Norm's electromagnetic coils. So just like other magnetic confinement devices, Norm uses a magnetic field to confine its super hot plasma and keep it away from the walls. There are 8 of these large magnets going down the length of the cylindrical confinement vessel. Unlike some other fusion devices you may have seen, you might notice that Norm's external magnet coils are simple, planar rings spaced along the confinement vessel, like a giant solenoid. This makes the engineering of TAE's reactors much simpler than that of the donut-shaped reactors like tokamaks accelerators. Furthermore, our FRC plasma is simple and stable enough to achieve what we call high beta, which basically means that a tokamak would need 10 times stronger magnets to contain the same plasma pressure that Norm does. This high beta, or high relative pressure of the plasma, is one of the unique characteristics of TAE's configuration that enables the path to advanced fusion fuel cycles beyond deuterium and tritium. The ultimate goal of our company is to use PB11, which is aneutronic, and therefore much more friendly to use from a materials and regulatory standpoint.
So there you go. I mean, that was basically like an Ashton Forbes live stream right there. High beta value. He says high beta value 10 times higher than tokamaks. Beta value close to 1. This is the pressure, magnetic field strength compared to the plasma pressure. This allows for much higher temperatures. This is what allows for boron-11 to become a possibility. So if you are not doing field reverse configuration, you have no chance. Literally no chance right from the start. Just right from the physics, right from the start, you are never getting to proton boron-11 fusion using a tokamak. And that's what he's laying out right here, is that field reverse configuration, the betas on tokamaks is only 10%, 0.1, compared to almost 100% beta with field reverse configuration. It's no comparison. So when people ask me, why are you interested in TAE? Why are you interested in helium? Because they're the ones who are going to make it work in the long run. And everybody else is going to switch to field reverse configuration. This is like CD versus, what was it, DVD versus Blu-ray or whatever shit. I don't even know. That's not even a good comparison. But I mean, this is going to be a wipeout.
One consequence of our high beta linear confinement system is that we have open magnetic field lines that carry our plasma leakage out the ends of the confinement vessel.
Ready? Guys, get ready for it. You're about to get the Yahtzee of the night. So what did he just say there? He says, our design is simpler. Our design is a linear design. So we just have these lines. The exhaust goes out the axial jets, just like what the orbs do. We've got these lines coming out of it.
So here, at each end of the confinement vessel, we use a couple of stronger magnets to pinch the magnetic field down through this smaller vessel. We can pinch it even stronger now that we don't need to shoot plasma through it from the formation sections. That pinching of the field reflects a lot of the leaky plasma back into the confinement vessel, and because it reflects plasma like that, the effect is known as a magnetic mirror.
The effect is known as a magnetic mirror, chat. When you're right, you're right. You just got to love it. Christmas came a couple days early today, guys. Christmas came a couple days early. There you go. Literally using magnetic mirror concept, and we figured it out. We figured some shit out that only nuclear physicists and engineers on YouTube videos about their fusion companies know about. which is that you can build your ring structure of superconducting magnets, and the plasma is going to flow through it like this. And what happens here is when this plasma flows, it goes back out the other way. And the problem is it wants to go out through the exit. But what happens? We make these cusps. We make these squeezed magnetic fields on the ends. And what happens is this causes the electrons to reverse course. This causes the particles to reverse course. So they want to shoot out and they go, nope, nope, I'm going to come back. Whoop. And so now it creates this structure where they're just going back and forth in the middle of our fusion reactor where they can't escape, even though there's just openings. There's openings on either side, but they can't escape. They're trapped in the middle in our magnetic mirror. That's going to be my new fantasy team next year, chat. By the way, Aneutronic Fusion is playing for the Fantasy Football Championships this weekend, chat. Yes, I know all about the sports balls, chat. I know when you throw the pig ball to the other people and you kick the ball into the net and you get a touchdown and you yell Yahtzee. I know all about it. I'm an expert. Anyway, magnetic mirrors. So there you go. We just heard our guy talking about magnetic mirrors.
A little bit of real leakage passes through the mirror and comes out the other end, and that's like the exhaust of our fusion reactor. So here's where we have
whoever just said this name, ban him. Ban him from the chat. Chat, do you really think, real talk chat, do you really think a guy who calls himself Professor Dave, who's not even really a professor at all, who tried to do advanced chemistry and failed, do you really think he's going to understand plasma mirrors, magnetic mirrors? Do you think he even knows what plasma is? I am skeptical. I'm just going to say, guys, we're outside the realm of YouTube debunkers at this point. We're in no man's land at this point. Even PhD physicists are scared to discuss these concepts because they're afraid they'll look silly. Anyway, here we go.
Advantage over the donut-shaped machines. Since our exhaust comes out the ends, we have a limited space to expand it and cool it off before it hits metal. That happens in this arbitrarily big vessel here, which we call a diverter. Let's get another look at it from down behind. As Greta mentioned earlier, the diverters also contain several high-voltage electrodes that we use to control the rotation of the plasma. Here at the back of the north diverter,
okay, we're going to skip this part.
which is this yellow can.
Okay, so guys, this is probably the next coolest part. This neutral beam injector, this is the thing that now they don't need the ends anymore. They just use 4 or 8 of these big things that are like surrounding the core, and they're just shooting lasers in there. Almost like they're little knits, like you're knitting something, right? You're just shooting these lasers, and then you're just keeping this FRC in the middle going. And we're extracting energy from that. That's how this concept works.
And the neutralization chamber, which is this silver larger can. Inside the ion source, there are 4 arc plasma generators that provide a plasma for which the ions that make up the neutral beam come from. At the end of that plasma chamber, there are metallic grids with electric potentials that not only extract those ions from the plasma and accelerate those ions, but they also suppress any electrons that are created within that grid system. After the ion beam is formed, it travels into the neutralization tank where there's a gas chamber. Those ions interact with the slow-moving gas, stripping away electrons from that gas, neutralizing the ions. And this process is very efficient. Most of the ions are converted into neutrals. That continues to travel through a vacuum duct into the confinement vessel and into the center of the field reverse configuration plasma. The process of creating a field reverse configuration via neutral beam.
So you can see this device is pretty big, but it's not huge, right? Like this can fit inside of a pretty small warehouse. And if you remove the 2 ends from it, then it really can. Now, this laser is like as big as this guy is. So you got some pretty serious hardware here. This isn't the kind of situation where you just roll up and you're like, hey, I'm building a fusion company. People are like, hey, Ashton, why don't you build a fusion reactor? I'm like, do you see how much work goes into this? Like, this is a large amount of work that's going on here. So once again, though, let me point this out. There's only a couple companies that even have any fusion reactors like this at all. And Trump just bought one of them. In fact, he bought this one. The one we're actually looking at right now. And as far as I can tell, what helium fusion is doing is the exact same thing. Like, exact same thing. Field reverse configuration is basically just got one setup. Now, there's probably some minor differences in how they engineered it, but It's the basic same idea.
Injection starts with a initial seed plasma. That's plasma is created by plasma generators on either end of the device with biased electrodes and magnetic field coils along the axis of the machine, all here in red. The 8 neutral beam systems then provide the neutral particles that interact with that seed plasma. As they are ionized and create fast ions, they encircle that seed plasma. The confinement allows the fast ion population to increase. As that fast ion population increases, the current generates a magnetic field. The superposition of that generated magnetic field from fast ions and the generated field by the coils creates a closed field line system. Thus, you've created a field reverse configuration plasma.
Wow. So the first guy was talking about open field lines. Open field lines meaning that we've got field lines are axial jets where things can escape. And we said we built our magnetic mirror to confine that, right? That's what we did. Now what he's saying is that we are shooting our neutral beams into our confinement mechanism. And what's happening is a structure is being formed. A plasma structure begins to form in the middle with closed magnetic field lines. This is important to understand. The closed magnetic field lines mean that the magnetic fields are completely encased, like a smoke ring or like the Earth. This means that there's an actual structure there that you could look at on the inside. What would we call that structure? I would call it a plasmoid. You've created a plasmoid in the center of that. Apparently now we're calling it field reverse configuration. There you go.
Neutral beam injection is one of the most essential tools in magnetic confinement fusion. It works by launching beams of fast neutral particles directly into the center of the plasma. These particles bring both energy and fuel into the plasma, helping sustain the plasma by heating and feeding it. Thus, you've created it.
Here's the visual of that. If you missed the visual he was talking about, here's the visual of how it's done. You shoot these laser beams, you can see how it just spins up this plasma in the center of it. And then that plasma in the center now is our stabilized plasmoid. So this is a completely different way of doing it than what the hot fusion people are doing. To clarify the difference here, cold fusion is more of a concept of understanding how the lattice structure of metal and water interact, and we pulse a current through it. We can produce excess energy. Hot fusion generally refers to tokamaks or stellarators, which are really just trying to achieve deuterium-tritium fusion. What we're looking at here is a completely different configuration, completely different approach using the same underlying core concepts in physics that we're calling field reverse configuration. And in this configuration, we can achieve this high beta value, and they're shooting for the best possible fusion fuel, the one that nobody thinks is possible. Obviously, somebody thinks it's possible because they just spent $6 billion on it, right? Okay.
Sustained, neutral beam fast ions were used in a field reverse configuration plasma to stabilize the plasma. The increased velocity of the particles have larger orbits compared to the thermal particles, and so their orbits can average over all the small perturbations and turbulence, which stabilizes the MHD activity. Now the population of neutral beam fast ions is so large, it actually reverses the magnetic field, which is key to forming one of these types of plasmas. Norman, the first iteration of C2W, created 2 closed magnetic field line plasmas at either ends of the device and accelerated them towards each other. They would form a much larger FRC plasma in the middle. Now we simply create the closed field line plasmas with the neutral beam injection, significantly reducing the complexity of our reactor.
Yeah, I mean, so he just gave the spice away right there, right? He said the way this worked originally, we made 2 plasma toroids and we shot them at each other, and then they would mix in the middle and they would create one new FRC, and then we would shoot our neutral beams injected and keep it going. He said, now we don't need that anymore. Now just the neutral beam injectors can create the FRC and then keep it going as well. I mean, that's huge to me. To me, that kind of breakthrough tells you that these guys know the answer, and they're dripping the information publicly over periods of time. And now they've just got the investment they need to go build a giant reactor. I'm in. Okay. Anything else? I kind of want to end it there, but I think one more thing I want to look at is this power supply, because I want to compare the power supply to helium fusion. Because at this point, actually, guys, like I feel like I'm probably one of the world's leading experts on fusion at this point. I mean, from an influencer standpoint, from an influencer, not an engineer. And you guys are up there as well. We've now watched videos on both helium and tri-alpha energy. So without further ado,
TAE. Flanking me on either side are just a few of the many cabinets that comprise the power
that's a they, them for sure, chat.
supply systems that support our fusion experiments. Over 100 of these cabinets populate our machine hall, delivering power to our neutral beams, biasing system, plasma guns, and various other high power systems. Since the power feed we get from the grid is only about a megawatt, we must charge these supplies over the course of several minutes in order to reach the energy levels necessary for a plasma shot. When fully charged, some of these systems can achieve current on the order of 100,000 amps at potentials of in the tens of thousands of volts. To put that in perspective, most cell phone chargers charge at approximately 5 to 12 volts and only put out about 1 or 2 amps of current.
She just came back from Burning Man with Ian Carroll, actually, turns out, right before this video was recorded. They were smoking a doob.
The distinguished expertise that we have developed in energy storage and delivery forms the basis of our Power Solutions subsidiary, which is adapting these systems to use in EVs, homes, and businesses. As one might expect, discharging such vast amounts of energy in just fractions of a second generates significant heat. Despite the massive thermal loads, we managed to keep these power supplies cool to just 60 degrees Celsius, or about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Our on-site cooling system chills and delivers water on demand to these systems, as well as the neutral beams, diagnostic lasers, and other systems that need it. A programmable logic controller, or PLC, orchestrates...
Okay, so you guys this is probably going over your guys' head, because it's going over some of my head. This sounds very similar to what helium fusion is doing. So helium's like, we have to have all these batteries because we have to have all this energy, and we have to discharge this energy into our plasmas, and then we have to recharge those batteries right away using those plasmas, right? So we have to have a very complex system for charging the batteries up and keeping them charged and distributing the energy and not losing that energy in terms of waste heat. That's what I wanted to figure out from this. And she just said we have to have this controller. And helium fusion was talking about using either a centralized or a decentralized controlling system to control all these batteries. The other thing this reminds me of is, you guys remember that guy that made the plasma gun? This dude makes this plasma cannon. He's got a tower of capacitors that he bought. And I think it was like 300,000 volts or 50,000 volts, something like that. I can't remember the exact number. And he shoots a plasma cannon, and it shoots this projectile and creates this whole like lightning strike. That's essentially what they're doing here. That's essentially what they're doing here, but they're doing a more complex, more scientific, not just doing it for the funsies, right? Kind of situation.
The many pumps, valves, and sensors needed to achieve adequate cooling of our machine. This PLC also monitors for leaks and alerts us to any issues that may arise. A second PLC manages a combination of convection and hot cathode ion gauges, which determine the pressure within our many vacuum vessels. This PLC also controls a system of roughing, backing, and turbomolecular pumps, which are used to maintain ultra-high vacuum. Each turbo pump has a pumping rate of about a cubic meter per second. These pumps can pull enough air out of our machine and to create an environment that is 1 trillion times lower in pressure than that of our atmosphere.
So one more thing I got to say here. I think that's probably enough for tonight. One more thing I want to say here on this. I mean, this is where you want to be investing, right? Let's just be honest. I've spoken to people, even like, ENG8, which I thought was pretty impressive. ENG8 stuff, pretty impressive. They got nothing on these guys. I mean, these guys, from a funding perspective, is just no comparison. These people have had billions of dollars. This is like the nicest facility I've ever seen. They've got a huge fusion reactor. They've got all their energy sides set up. This is exactly where you would expect a company to be, where you're now saying, okay, now I want to sign a deal. Now I want to sign a deal and start building commercial fusion reactors for people. This is the company that's ready for it, in my opinion.
That's about the same pressure as in outer space between the Earth and our moon. A third PLC monitors the status of each power supply system, opening and closing safety contactors or switches as needed to protect the system and our personnel. These PLCs work in tandem with our machine control system, which takes advantage of highly specialized equipment that can track key metrics like voltage, current, and temperature at rates of up to 500,000 samples per second, and issue triggers on a scale of 1/1,000,000th of a second. This is 100,000 times faster than the blink of an eye. Field Programmable Gate Arrays, or FPGAs, allow us to process many bits of data in parallel and reconfigure our hardware to suit the needs of our ever-evolving experiments. With that, let me show you into our control room.
the heart of our fusion, and about a dozen people populate.
Yeah, so I mean, look at this thing. I mean, look at this facility we got set up here. This does not look like a mist to me, right? This doesn't look like smoke and mirrors. This looks like they got something really going on here. We know the science and the physics is real, and you can see their massive device setup, guys. So again, invest at your own risk. Don't blame me if something happens. Just know if anything does go wrong, then I'm out as well. So we're in, guys. We're in. We're hyping it up. We're hyping the DJT up, and I'm looking forward to it, to be honest with you guys. And the more I learn about it, the more interested I am. The more interested in guys tonight. Oh, well, I have a moment of zen, but I better do these super chats, guys. And I apologize to the Pill chat and the Rumble chat. We'll be back up live tomorrow with you guys. Christmas Eve live stream tomorrow night, guys. I better not guarantee that, but almost sure. Bye, DJT's great show by Mick Leonard. Thank you very much. Troy, big bucks. Damn, we got big bucks here. Thank you very much for the huge donation, Troy. 0 Point Energy is the future. Couldn't agree more. Sam Fisher, if Trump's uncle knew about Nikola Tesla's designs, then it makes sense that information to be passed down to Trump. I would say it's very possible. But being president is also like one of those things where you start to learn about this technology in our weapon systems. So I would say it's also equally likely he just figured it out from being president. And you could see that there was a personality shift in Trump after his first presidency. And that's why I was ready for him to go on the second one. Second presidency, he already knew what was ready, what was good, what wasn't. Recon Ranch, thank you very much. Appreciate you, War Ranch LLC. Merry Christmas, fam. Merry Christmas to all the Forbes fam, all you guys as well. Merry Christmas. Zapparoo says so many of these questions answered in the letter to Ashton Forbes. Nice shirt. Paul Frederick appreciates you, chat. Appreciates it. And yes, I think the letter to Ashton Forbes keeps getting more and more vindicated. It feels like that had to be an intelligence community white hat reaching out. I wonder about that letter all the time in terms of who sent me that. They wanted me to know at least the general story of what happened to the plane. Almost like they felt bad that the truth was never going to come out. Like they sent that letter almost like, you know what? You tried your best, but this was never a battle you were going to win. So here you go. Here's the truth. That's kind of what it felt like to me. Sam Fisher, could one or two of these Lockheed compact fusion reactors power an Avenger-style Helo character? Yes. I imagine that Lockheed Martin figured out an even better way to do it. The way Charles Chase is gassing himself up and Thomas McGuire up over their compact fusion reactor, they might have figured something out that's even more impressive than the neutral beam injector path. Because there's probably multiple paths to produce your FRC and make it stable. I like the neutral beam injector path. I think that's a good one for a reactor that you're building for somebody. It looks like a reactor. It looks like something that's cool, But maybe Lockheed Martin figured out something even better. Maybe they figured out something. The key idea, though, is this. Just like the lighter. You're figuring out, how do I make that plasma ball just boom, now it's there. That's why I have that lighter, by the way. It's my prop, chat. Okay. And yes, they're going to, those orbs are potentially producing more energy than we could ever imagine. I think the orbs can possibly power entire towns. So yes, I don't think we should have to worry about how much energy they're producing. War Ranch LLC says Russia did it with a plasma sheath torpedo. Yes, and I do think this is related to cavitation and sonoluminescence as well. Same physics, same science, same underlying concept. Space is not empty. Blue Pasmball says, if a neutronic fusion has been done in 2014 with the orbs, what's taking these fusion companies so long? Now, the reason is because that information would be lock and key underneath national security, potentially underneath nuclear weapons secrets. And if the people knew about it, they possibly can't reveal that because it also might be intellectual property. Realize that these engineers were either working for NASA, they were working for the Air Force, or they might have been working for Lockheed Martin. Anything they worked on under those contracts is owned by those people. So you have to be careful how you release the information. It's almost better that somebody independently figures these things out because then they don't have any NDAs. There's no non-compete agreements that they have to worry about. So this is a good question. This is actually a really good question. Why is it these fusion companies haven't been able to figure it out if we've had it? because that information is not trickling down fast enough. This is the reason why America is getting so involved in fusion right now, because we actually already broke fusion. We already did it. The problem is publicly we haven't. Publicly, China could beat us still. And they're going, oh shit, we drug our heels too long on fusion, and now publicly China is going to be the first ones to publicly have it, even though we've already had it for 30 years. That's kind of awkward, right? Electronic Bookworm says, thank you for that donation. Golden DJT share for your stocking. Thank you. The stocking appreciates it, guys. Lulu appreciates it too. Divas, huge donation. You called all this fusion stuff over a year ago. Merry Christmas. God bless DJT and TAE. MAGA, us, going to take us. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, Divas. Yeah, don't blame me. Things go poorly, but look, man, I think this is the best opportunity we could possibly hope for. I can't even imagine a situation in a better situation than this. Even Helion's IPO wouldn't get me as excited for this, and I severely doubt you're going to be able to get as much value for your money in the stock from Helion that you get out of this. And the last thing I'll say is that you don't want to be doing this yourself. People are like, why don't you go build your own stuff? I'm like, guys, I broached building a thing, and I got attacked by everyone in the whole world about it, by building the energy thing. And I learned about some of the complexities related to it. It's not easy. I'm much happier sitting on the sidelines, watching everybody else, watching the sanctioned people, the people that literally are the president of the United States, go do it, and just throwing my money behind them. Much more comfortable situation when it comes to breakthrough energy situations. Okay. So thank you very much, Devos, for that huge donation. Stuart McLeod says, an appreciator of your crisp lattice shirt and orb buttons. Oh yeah, see? And this is actually a good way to explain space-time to people. When you're explaining space-time manipulation, you can take a shirt like this and you can say, now squeeze or contract part of your shirt. That's space-time manipulation. We're doing the same thing. That's what a warp drive's doing. Just like that graphic I was showing earlier where you're seeing the things moving around on the structure. So there you go. Now everybody here should be an expert. There's going to be a quiz at the end. Timothy Foster, Ashton Fellow, 4 Orbeez ambassadors. Get Christmas early from DJT and TAE. Thank you, Timothy Foster, and all your donations, man. You've been awesome. Kim Beardsley says, oh, Kimberly. It's Kimberly from the, I think this is my Kimberly from the Cosmic Summit. Thank you very much, Kimberly. And if you are that Kimberly, which I think you are, I think you look like her, then you are the one wearing the shirt as well. So if so, thank you very much, Kimberly. Appreciate it, especially Zapparoo for treats for Lulu and Merry Christmas. Thank you very much, Zapparoo. Appreciate you. Douglas Miller, guys. Hey, it's Douglas Miller. We reviewed his video several months ago. Cosmology and the 0 Point Energy by Barry Setterfield is so pertinent. Videos, search Chuck Misner interviews Barry Setterfield. Do not be disappointed. Yeah, I was looking into some of his work. It looked like it was legit. So I'll see if I can find one of those videos. Thank you very much, Douglas Miller. Appreciate you. And appreciate your work on getting 0 Point Energy out there for people. And then Dominique. Oh, hey, Dominic. Nice to see you too, brother. Says, wish you a Merry Christmas. Right back at you guys. So many people that I've met in person in the chat tonight. That's awesome. Guys, tonight, our moment is Zen. Shout out to Tupa, guys. We're going to probably talk about aliens tomorrow. I've got some alien stuff queued up here for you. But here you go. Here's Dan Farah. Apparently he's been crashing out over like people sharing clips of their movie. You know, I think that they lost a lot of money on the movie, we might guess, and they're trying to get as much money as they can. So anyway, shout out to Chupacabra, guys. Moment is Zen. Here we go.
Hey, group beats. I only wanted to show the movie to some friends. I didn't know Dan was gonna call and threaten me, Your Honor.
If you talk about my movie, I'll sue. If you try to show my movie to your friends, I'll sue. If you talk about me, I'ma sue. If you didn't like my movie, better get a lawyer who can sue me. Cause I'ma sue you. Sue you, sue you, sue you, sue you, sue you, sue you, sue. Cause I'ma sue you, 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 sue. Bitch, I'ma sue you. When I pull up, better have my guap, pop the addy. Now my jaw's locked, disclosure isn't free. $25 plus lawyer fees. Now you looking stressed cause I own your business. When I pull up, better have my money. Talk is cheap, and you been talking funny. Tell your bitch, she can't get nothing from me. She was on the slopes, nothing knows is runny. Objection, your honor, this bitch is lying. She was supposed to sell wine, now this bitch whining. You had to sell your business cause you tried to clown. This shit is business, baby, better ask me about my movie. I'll sue. If you try to show my movie to your friends, I'll sue. If you talk about me, I'ma sue. Bitch, if you think you gonna take my movie, better get a lawyer who can sue me. Cause I'ma sue you, 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 sue, bitch, I'ma sue you, 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 sue, bitch, I'ma sue you.
Hype chat, hype. Have a great night, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a good Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody. See you later. Peace out.
Infrared eyes, scanning the black, tracking the heat, never turning back. Control 22, a covert gaze. Control 33, in the cosmic maze. Controls in the mix, secrets untold. Silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interest, far and wide. As fierce, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. In the silence of space, they keep their post, shields unseen yet feared the most. With precision and speed, they warn of danger, keeping us safe from the missile's anger. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. Controls in the mix, secrets untold, silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interest, far and wide. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting